Hello. In this talk, we're going to be looking at kindness, what that means from a Buddhist perspective, um, how it functions, how it can be a path of practice that leads to realization. I thought I'd start with a simple question. What is kindness? And this is a really simple question because everyone should know the answer in terms of their experience. That you've all experienced, hopefully, kindness, and you've all practiced kindness towards other people, and you may all have experienced and practiced unkindness. That's always a possibility too. But you'll have some idea of what kindness is, what unkindness is, and what the difference might be between the two of them. If we were looking for some sort of definition of kindness, I'd say it was actively endeavouring to meet the needs of others. And here I think active is important. It's not simply wishing that other people had everything they wanted. We actually have to get up and do something in order to be practicing kindness. And here I'm going to borrow the famous story of the Good Samaritan, because I think that's an illustration of kindness in action. You know the story that a man was beaten up, robbed, and left for dead. And the scribe passes, sees what's happened, what happened, does nothing and goes on his way, passing by on the other side of the road, definitely aware of what had happened, but not interested in helping. And the Pharisee passes in the same way on the other side of the road. And then this chap turns up, who's a Samaritan, and he immediately goes to the man and tends to him and manages to get him to the nearest town and make sure that he's looked after. And so kindness is like that. It doesn't matter that we've noticed that something's happened and we might feel, oh, that's a bad thing. It's when we actually do something that we engage in kindness as a practice. I said at the beginning I'd be looking at kindness from a Buddhist perspective, but of course kindness isn't a Buddhist concept at all. Everybody knows about kindness, which is why it makes for a very good starting point for practice, because it's something that we already know. What happens in terms of Buddhism, I often find, is that Buddhist teachings will take an idea, take it apart, show you how it functions, put it back together again and hand it over to you with a new understanding of what that might mean in terms of Buddhist practice. So I'm hoping we can take a look at kindness and how it functions, and what the foundations are of kindness in terms of Buddhist practice.
May I ask a question?
Yes, certainly.
The word that is most commonly used in when you hear other teachers teaching is compassion. But we tend in our lineage to use the word kindness more. I'm sorry if I'm preempting something you were going to say later, but could you say why that is?
Certainly. I think compassion as a concept has become more related to the idea of having good thoughts about others, without the directness that kindness indicates. And I think that's very important. It's a question of how words can sometimes have subtle differences in terms of what they mean to people, and whether they mean something direct and immediate, or whether they mean something that's a little bit further away from direct action, or an immediate change in how we are as people. So compassion is often coupled with wisdom, and kindness tends to be explained in terms of kindness and awareness. And these are two essential factors. Now, I mentioned at the beginning how Buddhism looks at the mechanism of concepts, the mechanism of ideas, and how we are, and gives us a way of understanding that in terms of a path of practice, but also in terms of the nature of reality. So you've all heard teachings on form and emptiness. In fact, they're inescapable, because form and emptiness form the explanation of the nature of reality in terms of form and emptiness not being dual. So reality is non-dual, emptiness and form. And to realize that is to be enlightened. To hold that realization is to have Rigpa. Now, kindness and awareness are the lived aspects of form and emptiness. And each one leads to the other, and both of them together are essential. So this is where we see we're starting to look at what makes kindness function as a way of being. Kindness on its own is an excellent motivation. It's certainly better than unkindness. But that is the form aspect, but we also need the emptiness aspect. We need awareness. Because if we have just kindness and we lack awareness, there's a good chance we're going to make mistakes in terms of kindness. And interestingly, when we make a mistake in terms of kindness because we lack of awareness can look an awful lot like lack of kindness, because of the nature of the mistakes that we make through not having awareness of the situation. So awareness means knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of the situation that we're looking at. And so when we want to practice kindness, it's not simply a case of, oh, this looks like a kind thing, I'll do that. It's being kind in terms of meeting the actual needs of another person and meeting them as accurately as possible. So a silly story on that account is when you're walking along the street and you find an old lady who's stood at the curb looking at the traffic. And you kindly, very kindly think to yourself, this woman needs to get across to the other side of the road. I will help her across the road. So you very kindly take her arm, lead her across the road, and drop her off on the other side. It's only when you get to the other side that she has the chance to explain to you she was waiting for a lift. So now she has every chance of missing her lift, and she's on the wrong side of the road. So this is an example of kindness, full marks for kindness, without awareness of the needs of the situation, no marks at all for awareness. The whole thing has been somewhat unhelpful. I remember helping our son Daniel reorganize the photographs on his computer. Very well motivated, but I did it my way, not his way. And I'm not sure he's ever understood what photographs he's got any time in the last 10 years, because they're organised my way, not his way. So full marks for kindness, 0 out of 10 for awareness. These two have always got to go together in order to be able to practice. So the more we look at kindness, the more we realise the need for awareness. It's not going to happen all at once. We're going to make mistakes. We're hopefully going to learn from those mistakes. And both our kindness, our capacity for kindness, and our awareness will improve over time, I hope. The more we look at awareness, the more we'll find kindness, because these two are not different things. So the more aware we are of the situation of other people, the more kindness will start to penetrate our vision in terms of wanting to make a difference to their situation. That can happen too. One thing I wanted to mention was that as we all understand kindness, and we understand how we would very much like to be treated kindly, and we can probably assume that everyone else would like to be treated kindly, and everyone would end up a whole lot happier if that's what we were doing. The question naturally arises, why aren't we kind? What's getting in the way? What's stopping us from doing that? Why, when there's a possibility of a kind action, do we find ourselves not doing it? Or why do we find that we've just been unkind? And we look back on what we've just done and think, that wasn't very good, was it? And it's pretty much the usual culprit. It's me. Well, not necessarily me, it could be you, but it's me. It's the idea of me, this me that we want to prolong indefinitely, this me that we want to look after, this me that's really the bane of the life of the practitioner. Something comes up, and there's something that is consciously or unconsciously a bit more important than kindness, because we want to do something else. It involves getting dirty to be kind, or whatever it might be. Something comes up and gets in the way. So kindness and lack of kindness require us to have a sense of openness around that, around all the mistakes that we might make, and any time that we don't fulfill the possibilities of being kind. So this is the practice of awareness around the practice of kindness. We notice when these things happen. We notice when we've crossed the street to avoid the poor chap who got beaten up, or whatever it is we've done, and we can say, I'll do differently next time. I will actually practice kindness. Another aspect of the practice of kindness that's quite important, as well as awareness of ourselves and the situation itself, is what you could term power or capability or capacity. And I think this third factor is very important in knowing what you can do and knowing what you can't do, so that when a situation arises, you know how effective you can be in that situation and whether you need to get somebody else to intervene as well. I've seen on various dramas on television somebody carrying out a chiropractic maneuver to straighten out somebody else's spine. If somebody has back trouble, I'm hoping that I would realise that it is not within my capacity to do anything about this, and could actually result in damage. And so at that point, we need to find somebody else. So these three are important: compassion, kindness, awareness, power, capability, capacity. And the third one is also good in terms of knowing what we can manage in terms of our own energy. So you might have the kindly motivation to do something, the awareness of what's required, but you've got no energy. You've seriously got no energy. This is not, I can't be bothered. This is all the other things that you've been doing, commitments that you've made, whatever they might be, and you have to know that I'm not actually being unkind in this situation. I will do what I can, but I can't do everything. And that's important to know as practitioners. We can't do everything. Otherwise, we'd just be continually flat and exhausted, and unable to function anyway. So this is the third factor. Sometimes you can see these three factors embodied as Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, Jampayang, Manjushri, or Channa Dorje, whose other name I've now forgotten, Vajrapani. So you've got kindness, awareness, and power. And I think these three together are the aspects which allow us to practice kindness in our lives. I think I had some more examples somewhere. Yes, another example of capability and capacity, slightly less violent than being a chiropractor, and a bit more personal, is knowing that I can do some things to do with computers. But I know that if Daniel needs me to do something in terms of Windows, we're going to end up with a dead computer. So it is really knowing when to back out of the situation. It's still very much a part of kindness, because you don't blunder in to do something that's beyond you. It's as simple as that. And you might help find somebody who can do the work, but you make sure that the work gets done. And finding somebody else who can do what needs doing is as much an aspect of kindness as being directly kind yourself. Have some ideas about misunderstandings of kindness. I really like the way that Buddhism goes into all these details, so that we can better understand what kindness means and what it doesn't mean. You may have heard a phrase that goes along the lines of being cruel to be kind, spare the rod, spoil the child. Anything where there's justification of doing something that is actually actively unkind, with some idea that this is kindness. This isn't Buddhist practice at all. If we're going to be kind, it has to be obviously kind. It doesn't have to rely on an underpinning of justification. This is quite important. So to be cruel, to be kind, is not an aspect of kindness at all. So one way of looking at this, if you take the examples, and you'll find them all over the internet, of animals being kind to each other, they don't have the option of intellectually justifying themselves. So when you see the cat feeding the swan, or when you see, the sighted cat leading the blind cat, and there's things that are scattered all over the place. They don't have the option of doing as we do. They're not as clever as human beings, so they don't have the option of doing one thing and saying another. So it's really as direct and simple as that. That when we're kind, we're just kind. If we lack awareness, practice kindness. Just always keep it simple. The other thing is morality. Kindness in a Buddhist context doesn't concern itself with morality. Morality is sort of codified kindness up to a point, where we're able to write some sort of book of rules about what to do. But eventually the rules will break down and awareness becomes important. It's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with the idea of morality, apart from the fact there comes a point where it just doesn't work. And the simplest example, and within this lineage, one of the most famous examples, is the aging auntie and the wedding outfit. That you have a situation where the aged aunt has come to the wedding. She's bought herself a new outfit, and the outfit includes this, on the face of it, horrendous hat that may actually have fruit, flowers and dead animals on it. It could be all manner of horrors going on there. And she asks you, what do you think of my hat? And you come to a fork in the road at this point where you can be truthful, that's the moral thing to do, or you can be kind, that's the other moral thing to do. So immediately morality breaks down and you have to go, what do I do now? And what you do now is apply awareness. You look at the situation. This is why I like this example, because you have the opportunity of looking around the situation, looking at what it means, looking at what the person needs, looking at what the situation needs. It becomes quite vast. The aunt isn't actually asking for your opinion. This isn't an escape clause, by the way, it's just the truth in this case. She's possibly seeking reassurance. She's gone out on a limb for this hat, may have spent a good deal of money on it, and wants to feel comfortable on the day. It doesn't really matter to anybody else, and at this point the truth doesn't matter. And you say, that's a fantastic hat, it's wonderful, it's most striking, and you look very good in it. And you've chosen the path of kindness over the path of truth in terms of what might be in the book of morality. Sounds like a Bible book or something. Because you have to go one way or the other. You can't do both at the same time. And I remember when this story was told, the audience included Lama Bacha, and he added, and then you stay with her. You don't reassure her and then run off somewhere and snigger. You actually stay with her, keep her company, compliment her hat, make sure other people are equally comfortable with complimenting her hat, and make sure that the entire event is something that she's happy with. And then, in terms of what we said at the beginning, active compassion, meeting the needs of the person and the situation, you have no regrets there. You've completed that. And life is going to pop up these things all the time. One of the wonderful things about being a practitioner out in the world is you never know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. There's no timetable. Oh, it's 10:30, time for the aging auntie, whatever it might be. You can't be prepared for it, and you're taken as you are, raw, immediate, and in the moment. Whatever happens, happens. And this is a great way of getting to know ourselves, whether we like it or not. Somebody else's unkindness might push our buttons, and possibly in unexpected ways. And we've been revealed to ourselves as a person who's got this thing and this way that they react. From a practitioner's point of view, it's good to know. And we could actually be grateful for the circumstance that's led us to find out that we're miserly or angry or can be pushed into states of mind we didn't know we had or didn't even know existed. And we then know that then when that happens, we can do something about it. So other people's unkindness is not something we necessarily take issue with if we are able to treat it as practice. In terms of our own responses, we attempt to be kind. We do our best in that situation. Again, not forfeiting our own capability and capacity by being steamrollered by other people. So although we are kind people, although we try to practice kindness, we're also not doormats for other people, because this is another aspect of awareness, is that we are aware of the needs of the situation rather than the demands of individuals, which may have nothing to do with what the situation needs. So you might have the experience of trying to help somebody who is clinically depressed, and you take them their meals and you do everything for them, and they remain clinically depressed. And nothing that you're doing is helping in that situation. And you have to start to do something that isn't just keeping them ticking over. Or in one instance, Rinpoche and I ended up at the house of a lady who was convinced that they were haunted by the devil, and asked for an exorcism. So we went over there, and Rinpoche went into one room while I kept the lady company, and he performed an exorcism. And as we left, I asked him about this, and he said, there's nothing there. It's purely the mind of the person in question, that she was seeing faces in patterns in the wallpaper. And I said, well, what do we do now? I remember she says, we don't do anything. We don't have the capability of helping this person. We've done what they asked for. We've done our best to see whether that would make a difference to their state of mind. It doesn't make a difference to their state of mind. We can actually do no more. This is a job for social services. This is a job for somebody who actually can deal with their mental state or find better accommodation for them. So that was another example of realizing where our capability, our capacity runs out, and to pursue that would be at the detriment of what we could actually achieve. That if we spent all our time looking after this person for whom we could make no material difference, we would be missing out on the opportunities to help people that we could make a difference for. So this is the application of awareness, this is the understanding of power, capability and capacity, and thereby the practice of kindness for limited beings such as ourselves who need to recharge from time to time. What can we actually do? What can we actually do that is helpful to others? And so we have to choose our time wisely in terms of what we do. So if we practice kindness and awareness, we're not going to fall into any pitfalls in terms of practice. We might make mistakes from time to time. We might be under the influence of various habits, but hopefully we will see through those and understand how to practice kindness. And through the practice of kindness, and through the times when we can't seem to manage to be kind, we'll understand ourselves, we'll understand what it is that prevents us from being kind, what's going on for us there, and be able to change how we look at things, change how we look at circumstances. I've remembered another example where kindness is not as simple as we think it is. Kindness is sort of simple in terms of its motivation, but not so simple if we're aware of the entire situation that's around us. When we used to have a car, we used to have the option when people speeded alongside us and along the hard shoulder trying to get in front of us, of letting the person in. And that could be a kind thing to do. But it suddenly occurred to me, there's 100 cars behind us. And so every time we let somebody in, we're delaying the 100 people behind us. I don't know what the right answer is here, but it's not as simple and immediately straightforward as it might appear. So having that sort of understanding, we then have to make a decision, perhaps knowing, okay, good for this person, not so good for those people. Next time, bad for this person, better for those people, or whatever decision we need to make to the best of our ability and awareness. So the practice of kindness is the practice of Buddhism, basically. The more we engage with kindness, the more we gain in terms of awareness, the more we embody the lived meaning of form and emptiness, the more we begin to see that kindness and awareness are not two separate things. They both come together. They can't be practiced on their own. To attempt to practice them on their own wouldn't be a Buddhist practice. Through gradually realizing that these aspects are non-dual, through gradually realizing what makes us not practice kindness, we find that we have engaged in a complete path of practice that starts with kindness, that we all understand, expands itself into the need for awareness and the need for an understanding of our particular power and capacity in any situation, and results in realization of the fruits of the Buddhist path. So results in an understanding, a realization of non-duality, and results in Rigpa as the fruit of the path of kindness.